gun and step away from her.
They're gonna go to your house, and then they're gonna go to your families. It's what they do.
I'm scared of Anthony, Marika. And you should be too.
This is your second feature film, and the first one was kind of almost I would classify it as kind of zombie monster horror film, kind of in that respect. And this is such a departure from that. This is more of a Tarantino kind of, you know, crime slash, you know, thriller drama, and going from one aspect of the range of, you know, doing something so outrageous as like a horror film with monsters in it, and then doing something like this. Is your intention to? Are you still trying to find a niche, or are you feeling like I'm gonna as long as I can make movies, I'm gonna ride the gamut and do as many different things as I want?
Yeah, I hope that my niche can just be, you know, doing many different genres. I mean, I'm definitely like, you know, in a certain space. You know what I mean? I'm not the comedy director, or you know, going to be directing the next musical starring Hugh Jackman or something. But I know your limits. yeah, you got to know, and just like the things that, you know, really get you going. And I love horror. I love science fiction. I love crime films, crime drama. I love drama films, but, you know, finding that sort of a little bit, that darker sort of edge towards the drama side is definitely where I lean towards. So I hope I can just kind of keep doing whatever inspires me while I'm writing, and, you know, try to get it made. And
that's awesome. I mean, just getting something made is a feat in itself. And then to do, you know, two films with vastly different, you know, perspectives, but still, you still have your voice in there. I mean, you can see. I haven't seen The Axiom, but I've seen the trailer, and I can tell already that it has your signature on it just from watching this film.
Well, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Getting any film going is tough, and with this one, we knew, you know, we were going to be doing it on a smaller budget, and we were going to be raising the money ourselves and finding the investors ourselves instead of, you know, sort of the studio company approach. And that was it. I was like, you know, since we're doing this on our own, let's make a film that for the most part is going to be, you know, that these companies and studios wouldn't make. One of ours that, you know, if we did this and tried to pitch this out, it's like it's going to be put to the bottom of the pile for the most part, because it doesn't have that the classic genre spectacle type of things that studios are looking for. So instead of doing another horror or another thing that's a little bit easier to get made, like, we're doing this ourselves. Let's really do it for ourselves and do something that's going to be, you know, that we might not get to do for another couple of years.
Yeah.
So that was really the intention in the beginning.
The really cool thing about this film is that there is such a great use of natural light in it. And I'm kind of curious if you talk about, was that part of the pre-production design, or was that part of just finding the location that you wanted and kind of, you know, feeling it out and going, okay, we could probably shoot from this angle or this angle. How did you approach using that light in such effective manner?
You know, a lot of it comes down to, too, it's interesting. I mean, again, you know, when you're starting off with a film and designing, I mean, you already know your production limitations. We already knew we weren't going to have a lot of equipment. We got a small crew. We're going to really keep this intimate, do a few things guerrilla style, and try to make something special, even though we have limited resources. So already we knew natural light. Not only we want it to be our friend, because I love films that employ natural light, but already, you know, it's our necessary friend, because it's in ways all we have. And that, I mean, that's great. And it was something I want to continue to take onto bigger budget projects, because it's just so, I mean, you see it in some of these big films that are coming out now, some of these bigger indies that are like, you know, kind of running the Oscar stuff. I mean, that's like some of the best cinematography you're going to see is this employing this natural light. And so, yeah, I mean, the crazy thing with natural light and the difficulty you're going to get with it in production is how you have to, it is all about scheduling. I mean, the best light is in the morning and the best light is in the afternoon, kind of, you know, nearing that sort of, not exactly sunset, obviously sunset, golden hour is great, but even just those hours leading up to it. And we're shooting in Arizona, which has like, you know, 14 hours of daylight, and typical production days are 12 hours. So you don't kill people. You know what I mean? 12 hours is already a lot, but that doesn't leave you a lot of room when you need to shoot in the morning and the sun rises at 4 in the morning. It doesn't set until 6 p.m. You know, there's going to be some weird crossovers. So to really accomplish this, our crew, which was incredible, and it's, you know, a lot of people I worked with on the Axiom and some people I've worked with on other things, we would wake up in the dark, do our sunrise early morning material, and then when the sun sort of starts hitting that like 10:30, 11, like high noon hits in Arizona at like 10:30, and so it's completely unusable. And you know, we don't want to shoot then because that's gonna, you know, our image is not gonna look so good. So we would go back to our accommodations and try to take like a little nap, which I hope they did. It was near impossible for me because I got all this other stuff to worry about. And we would just, you know, hang out for 4 hours and then come back in the afternoon. And although, I mean, it was a sacrifice because that really starts to really wear you down. I mean, you know, take a nap in the middle of the day and just like, you know, try to keep working. But that's what I think led to some of being able to accomplish consistent, really nice images on this film, was that sort of sacrifice, making sure we were only shooting outdoors in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day.
And I mean, you're in a desert. I mean, you're literally in this vast nothingness, and the sun reflects differently. And then, of course, you got to worry about sound at that point, and the idea of maybe the wind kicking up. I mean, it's Arizona, so maybe there wasn't that much wind to deal with in a desert, but there still might have been an opportunity for that to happen, and all these factors that you really can't prepare for in pre-production. Did you guys do like a camera test ahead of the shot just to make sure that you were capturing the light in the right way and then getting everything else that needed to go with it around that? Or was it, we're set up, let's shoot it?
Yeah, we unfortunately didn't have the luxury to do too many camera tests on location. For the most part, none of us had ever been there when we arrived. You know what I mean? I did a lot of pre-blocking to pictures and things as we knew we were going to get this location from a friend for pretty much free. But you know, it's also in Sedona. Most of us live here in Los Angeles, so it's like 8 hours away and we're already working on the film. So I'm doing storyboards and sort of camera blocking with our cinematographer, Sten Olsen, just to pictures. And then we get there and we're like, trying to be blocking to pictures doesn't always, you know, ever work out. So yeah, I mean, we get there and we're already shooting stuff that we know, okay, this is, you know, let's get some exteriors, let's do some stuff that we need maybe for the opening sequence and stuff. But then it's like, then we're at lunch and me, you know, while the crew's eating lunch, me and the cinematographer are like, all right, this shit is way different over here. We need to like reblock this entire. So we're like, each day we're doing the work, but then planning for the next day because, I mean, we had, you know, there was not a single location we could see beforehand due to the budget. You know what I mean? That usually ends up costing more to kind of, you know, get to come early. And I mean, we were really just kind of trying to, you know, to make it happen. We had to kind of be on our toes and do things a little bit on the gun.
Well, and what sells it is you shoot a lot smarter than you would if you had, you know, all these lighting rigs and stuff like that. You kind of go in closer to the actors and focus more on the actors and let the light kind of surround them. Those kind of things. I'm guessing that was suggestions and blocking that you guys found during blocking that was going to be the most beneficial for you. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah, we took a lot of inspiration from things that we had read from Alejandro Inarritu and Chico nice. For The Revenant, because, you know, I mean, they talk about how even though they had a giant crew, they just kept trying to get away from the crew in the base camp. They just wanted to just be, you know, about 5 of them shooting this movie outdoors, natural light. And so we took a lot, you know, of inspiration from them trying to, you know, try to set up the scenario and set up the perfect time of light, but then let's just now sink in and let the actors really find these moments and just really try to find the sort of the truth of this sort of, darker, grander story kind of going on.
Was it hard to sell your friend on the fact that there was going to be blood in his house at the end of this?
Yeah, and he wasn't the only friend. It was, a lot of, there's a decent amount of blood here and there, and just told him, we're going to clean it up. Great. Don't you worry. You're not even going to notice. And so, I mean, for the most part, I don't think he noticed, but we did have one friend in one of the scenes, somebody gets bloody without giving any spoilers because it's a really cool moment that I like and seems to really hit with audiences. But somebody gets bloody, and it was funny. We were hoping to clean it up because we didn't plan necessarily on the blood being so. I mean, this is why you never want to be a serial killer or a murderer, for the obvious reasons, but also because there's no getting away with it. Like blood, we do our little blood blast, and we cleaned up for like an hour, and I swear to God, there was just still little drops everywhere. I mean, it was just like, so we had to come back a second day for that one. And take care of things.
The other two factors in this film I think that are very, very important is, first off, the pacing. And you choose to use a chaptering system to kind of set things up. And I'm finding, because this is my 4th year covering Cinequest, and you are the 4th time I've seen a chapter film in Cinequest. So I'm thinking Cinequest has a type, I don't know if you noticed that, and that's why you submitted to them, but
no, that's funny.
They did every year I've run across a chaptering film, and I wish I ran across more of them, because I think it's a clever device, and you use it pretty well to tell the narrative and set up things that we're not privy to at the beginning. And I'm curious, was that something that you had designed from the beginning, or were you finding that in the edit? Did that come when you guys were editing it together?
No, that was like one of the first initial things, kind of going back to the idea of, like studios and companies kind of hate that. That's why I think you're seeing this, in indie and Cinequest level thing, like, when on our indie level, it's a freedom, and it's an exciting freedom because, like you say, narratively gives you so many cool options on how to tell the story. And, maybe like, at least for me personally, I wanted to do this from the get-go. The main intention was, I want to tell a revenge story that's told in 5 parts. And we would get pieces of a couple different characters throughout. And that was it. And then so many things kind of came after that. But I had never written a story in multiple parts. I immediately found why it's so attractive, because, I mean, the ability to, this sort of, and the ironic devices you can kind of employ becomes so just fun for a writer, and hopefully later for an audience member, because, you get to experience something, and your perception, you perceive it a certain way, and then you give them something, and something TV does so great, nowadays and everything, but then you get a moment of a different perspective, and it's so like human nature and human existence, where we think we know somebody, or we think we get the full picture, but we're just getting a piece.
Stop.
Stop. Stop it. Stop it. I'm not going to do anything. Okay? I'm done. I'm done. Stop struggling. Stop. Hey! Drop your gun and step away from her. I mean it. I will shoot you, not a second thought. Do it!
And then, you know, if you get to know somebody or you get to know a circumstance more and you get to know the grander picture, you actually start, you know, to see there's so many other sides to so many things, so many different sides to people, and that you might not want to judge a person or a circumstance just on its face value, that there could be so much more deeper. Yeah.
And the way you pull something like this off is the acting. The acting is so paramount in this film. I mean, it's so super important because I mean, without these characters, you know, giving those moments where you think one thing and then it turns out to be something else, or it turns out to be what you thought it was, even still, which is a great device on its own too. You know, because there's obvious things, but you know, you don't know it till you're told it, right? And so, but the acting really does a lot of selling this. You had quite a few actors that you've worked with before playing some of the parts, even some major parts in this film. And then the two main leads who we meet very early on in the film are brand new to you in experience. So did you feel like you got on your actors you were familiar with to kind of just make sure and balance the idea that this is going to have what you want it to have in it? Or was it just, I'm just helping some friends, giving them some jobs?
I wish I was as good of a friend as that. You know what I mean? I won't do anything, you know, at the cost of the movie. You know what I mean? It's just like the movie and the film is the most important thing. And, you know, if that means cutting out the scene that my dad did play, which we did, and that meant, you know, kind of breaking my own father's heart, you know, by God, we have to do it. And yeah, so that did happen. And for the actors, yeah, I mean, again, like I saw Heston in Rocksteady Row, and I go, I need to work with him. And he's, you know, he's a friend. He's somebody that I see in other colleagues' projects, and I wanted to work with him. Chase Cargill, I had seen in a play at the Road Theater House. The Road Theater House is just an incredible theater program, theater house in Los Angeles, very renowned. And I saw him in a play there with Sam Anderson, and I was like, I want to work with Chase. I want to work with Sam. I want them to play father and son in something, because they are so freaking good in this play together. And Verity Bronco, who's in she's in a couple scenes. She's also in that play. So we just started, once the kind of beginning, the groundwork started building, then we started, pulling from people we knew. We did do some casting, but we wanted to pull from people we knew were really strong actors and had a really strong background because of the dramatic nature, and, you know, just to really take the material seriously and really want to dive in and discover sort of these, again, just these moments between the different characters, and making sure that these relationships are really real. And that's just really not easy to do. And you really need people who understand the craft of acting and take it really seriously. And this is their life. And so they really get there. When they show up on set, you can tell the difference between an actor who this is their life and an actor who's, you know, just coming to Hollywood to kind of get their face on something. You see it immediately when they get on set, and you know, just going there personally, it's not easy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I know the answer to this question because I've done it, and I've gravitated toward actors myself when I've made films and things. But is it easier for you as a director, knowing that you don't have to work with them because they know how you work, you know how they work? Do you feel like there's a comfort level too with hiring people you know and have worked with before that really helps you in a process that is, like you said, you're constantly doing stuff all day long, even when they're eating or resting, you're not. So you're wearing 15 hats at a time. So does that help tremendously for you? Is that part of the motivation in having actors you know come and play these parts for you?
Yeah, it helps, and because you have that comfortability, and you're excited. You're a little less nervous. You don't have to. You can present a little bit like more comfortable side of yourself when you get there. But that can also be a problem too, because then you're doing a take, and you're so close, and you really have to make sure these like the way you're speaking to your friends on set. They're like, you're like, yo man, you're fucking this up. And it's something you would never say to like another actor who you hired professional. It's like, and they would say this, same to me. And okay, I think we're learning some pretty bad habits on how directors speaking to actors and actors speaking to directors that we're gonna enjoy now and then completely forget and get back to professionality. But there was a mix, because there's a lot of actors I had never worked with before. So I mean, then it's just business as usual. Be professional, responsible, and really try to get to know these people so you can work with them on the best way. But that was nice, when you know people on an intimate level. That's part of the process as a director. You need to get to know your actors so you can help employ those their life experience and their personality on these characters. And if you already know someone really well, you can dive a little bit deeper and get a little bit more personal and kind of tread that line. Something really personal about someone, and you want to try to, hey, are you willing to go there? Are we willing to kind of tug on this string a little bit and see what it brings to the scene? You know what I mean? That's obviously, as a director, you want that, but you can't. That can be kind of invasive sometimes. It's not really necessarily all part of the job. So sometimes you can get a little bit more of that if you know them well enough. And and then if you don't, then you get to know them and see what you can make happen there. As
filmmakers go, you've seen this movie probably a million times. You've seen it probably more than you would like to admit that you've seen it, or that you would want to see it. And I know that you probably still look at it and go, "Oh man, I should have cut there, or I should have turned the camera this direction or that direction." There's little things that you kick yourself for. I mean, nothing's ever perfect, right? But I don't want to know any of that from you. What I'm curious about is, what do you think? What's that?
Those are all secrets that'll die with me. No one wants to know those.
But what do you think you nailed?
Ooh, shit, that's a tough one, huh? This is my second film, so it's an interesting. It's like a feature film. Do a bunch of short films and things. I always hated short films. I feel like I was never made to make a short film. It's always just too long, and it's like, why am I making a short film then? Let's make a larger narrative, and I'm feeling very good about the control I had over this extended narrative and a feature narrative than I did necessarily in my first film. I'm really proud of the first film and the horror film and everything. We had a ton of problems on set, things that we couldn't control. An actor broke his foot in like the first couple days, and we just needed to keep filming. You know what I mean? And it's just like there's no stop. So I had to figure out how to like get a person to walk into scene who can't walk, or enter and exit things. Just stuff that was messing with the other creative parts of making a film. And now on this film, on Echoes of Violence, we didn't have any of those problems. We kept, we're really intimate. We had other, every film's got things that come up, but we didn't have these things that make me have to do rewrites on set or do this. The narrative got to be in complete control. And I felt just really strong. I'm feeling a lot stronger with, just at least the choices of how to, direct a scene and exactly where I want to put the camera. Do we want to let these certain moments linger? I just felt the moment I stepped on this set, I knew exactly how I wanted it to look and how I wanted it to flow. And maybe that took making a first film, or maybe this just film, something about just all the magic of getting this thing off the ground, which was kind of miraculous in its own sense. But I felt really good about how we were going to tell the story from the get-go.
What do you really love about making independent films?
I really love, I do love the intimacy, as I think I've said that word now 6 times, but I like, and this is something that will most likely go away outside of indie filmmaking, but I like people not telling me how to make my film. You know what I mean? I don't have anyone. I can do everything that I necessarily, I take a lot of advice. Frank Oz was an incredible mentor to me on this, watched an early cut and gave me just tremendous advice that almost like rebounded into life. It was so like elevated. And, so I do take a lot of advice. I ask people who are close to me, obviously, I take notes and things, but I want to be able to, a film needs, that's what the director's there to do, is it needs a one voice. Yeah, I mean, that's just so important to be able to have that, just that singular voice, because that's how you're going to get, you know, those are the movies that I love, that you love, that the directors that we love, you know, it's because they have control over the voice and the overall flow of the film. And that's important. And hopefully, you know, that's what I love about indie film. And some people do it really well when they take it to a larger level. That's certainly a goal.